Fine is like the worst thing. So when a client and I talk, and I say, "How are you doing?" They go, "I'm fine." I'm
Right.
like, first of all, I say, "Fine's not a feeling." Right.
Ooh.
That's always that's my
Zing.
smug response.
Love it.
Um, but what does fine stand for?
Effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
That's a great acronym. And the other one is feelings I'm not expressing. Yeah.
Ooh.
That's
That's actually a little more apt. It's not
yeah.
Aerosmith, but it's a little more apt.
Yeah. Welcome to Right Here, a podcast about mental health, connection, and what it means to be human. I'm Christopher Mooney.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips. Each episode, we unpack the psychological patterns that shape our relationships, our sense of self, and the way we move through the world.
No jargon, no judgment, just thoughtful conversations that invite us to come back to the present moment.
Because when we're right here with ourselves and right here with each other, something shifts.
We get a little clearer, a little more regulated, a little more right.
Right Here is a podcast partnership with WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, streaming online at WPKN.org and via our free listening apps.
Kenyon, anybody ever ask you how you're doing?
All the time.
And how do you answer them when they ask you how you're doing? Or how are you?
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I don't do that.
Fine is like the worst thing. So when a client and I talk, and I say, "How are you doing?" They go, "I'm fine." I'm
Right.
like, first of all, I say, "Fine's not a feeling."
Ooh.
Right? That's always
Zing.
that's my smug response.
Love it.
But what does fine stand for?
Effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
That's a great acronym. And the other one is feelings I'm not expressing.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's
actually a little more apt. It's not
Yeah.
Aerosmith, but it's a little more apt.
Yeah. Nice. That is I think that's actually at the end of the day what fine really means.
Feelings I'm not expressing.
Yeah. But I do appreciate a good effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, which comes from the recovery world. I know that was that's always the saying in the rooms.
In the rooms.
The rooms.
Yeah.
12-step programs. So we're going to talk today about what fine really means, what we're avoiding, and why we use it as an emotional defense. And we're going to get into really why maybe we should pick some other words instead of just telling people we're fine.
I love that. And that we should maybe get a little bit more expressive.
Yeah.
We don't have to overshare. We don't have to tell somebody our life story when they ask how we're doing, but we can be a little bit more precise.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I think this follows suit with everything we've been talking about, right? Like how to be a little more vulnerable, a little more aware, a little more open with other people, but also how we understand our boundaries in that too, so that we're not totally open and just like a raw nerve walking around. Like,
Right.
We don't want to overshare certain things.
You don't want to be that person where everyone's like, don't ask him how he's doing because he'll tell you his whole life story.
Yeah. Do you have an hour and a half? Because
Right.
I could just go off on a diatribe about
Go off.
it. Yeah. Which is also exactly how we start our mornings now.
It is.
Yeah.
And it helps. Okay, so fine is kind of like an emotional defense, you were saying?
Fine is an emotional defense.
Okay.
It's kind of how we deny or numb, talking about feelings that could help us function around stress, grief, responsibility, or even caring for others.
Overwhelm.
Absolutely. Overwhelm is always, I think that one's a big one that people experience. But when answering fine becomes the default, it blocks us from getting help, and it keeps us typically running on empty. And like we talked about in our last episode, when we were talking about self-care and how to be open with others and connect,
Right.
when we're answering fine, it actually shuts that door pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It keeps people at bay. It keeps us what we think is safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of a social script to okay, I don't want to avoid it. I don't want to burden anybody. So I'm going to avoid telling them what's really going on. And it's also a way for us to avoid kind of like facing ourselves, checking in with ourselves. But as you're saying, the irony is it keeps us worse. I mean, like if we're not, as we've talked about in other episodes, if we are not connecting with other people through our vulnerability, then our mental health is just going to kind of take a nosedive.
Right. So if we think of connection as kind of the most important element of being a human, then when we answer "I'm fine," we're blocking other people out, and we're also not connecting with ourselves. And in all of this, by the way, everything we always talk about, it's really about self-awareness,
Right.
and kind of how are we checking with ourselves? Are we aware fully of what's going on internally? What are we experiencing on the inside and emotionally, so that we can allow ourselves to be open to others and connect with others. If we're so unaware and closed off in our self, then we can't really connect with other people.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's like that meme that I think you and I have referenced before, where the dog is sitting in amongst the flames in hell, and it's just like, everything's fine. This is fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That meme is very popular.
It's for a reason, I think, because I think if everyone listening actually can reflect on this, like, how often in our day do we answer like, yeah, fine, and sometimes it's just we just want to keep it moving, but like, really, that is, it just means nothing.
Yeah, we front like it means I'm okay, or that's fine, that's okay. But it often really means there are feelings here that I'm just not expressing. And honestly, I'm not engaging with them inside either. Yeah. I'm just going to avoid.
Why do we learn not to express or engage in our feelings? We've kind of addressed this, and we're familiar with some of these ideas, but I want to go back into this. So we start to look at, you mentioned some of the roles before, role and responsibility. When we start to think of like, okay, I'm the strong one, I'm the caregiver, maybe I'm a leader, I might be the parent or the helper. Anybody in those roles typically feels that they have to appear okay,
right?
Mostly at all costs. At the cost of our own stability, our own sense of self, our own sanity, right? Those are roles where we look at and we go, oh, there's a lot of burnout doing those things. There's a lot of feeling exhausted. There's a lot of not feeling seen. The caregivers, the leaders, the parents, the helpers.
That's what I was going to say, especially the parents. There's this idea of like, I care for my children more than myself, and that's somehow noble, to take on that kind of like over responsibility.
Yeah, the emotional martyrdom.
Right. Right.
And then, so that over responsibility, perfectionism, I care for myself, it gets twisted into this feeling of failure, right? So if I'm vulnerable and I talk about this, if I share how hard being a parent is, then I'm a failure. If I need help, then I'm a failure. And that's, we see this at so many levels, right? We see it just about talking. We see it about accepting help.
Right.
We see it transpire with, asking for outside help. Say you need like a family member to assist you. Any of these scenarios, we kind of twist it into this idea of like, man, I'm no good at what I'm doing.
Right. And we don't want to invite judgment. We're all walking around worried about, oh God, if I admit that I need help here, I'm going to be written off as difficult or a failure.
Right. What are you possibly going to think about me if I tell you that I'm not fine?
Exactly. Yeah. Or it's only, okay, I'll say that I'm fine unless I'm in a space that's totally anonymous.
Yeah. The other area that we see this is that around stigma and fear around mental health.
Yeah.
Many of us have learned that talking openly about anxiety, depression, grief, you mentioned overwhelm before, that it leads to minimization and judgment, right? And you kind of were talking about this. Oh, this is going to be this idea of, being judged.
If I admit that something's not okay, then I'm going to be viewed as defective. I think that's the fear.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
And I'll be shunned.
I'm broken if I share this, right? And we often want to avoid painful emotions too, and that's the third piece to this. So part of how we learn to just say I'm fine and ignore some of these things. ultimately we don't want to feel pain. Human beings do everything we can to avoid feeling pain. And so we will do anything and say anything we can to just kind of push that away or push it down. And so it's normal to avoid sadness. It's normal to avoid fear or shame or anger. And what we do in those situations is we often will stay busy, we'll ignore things, we numb out, or we just keep conversations light. The lighter I can make an interaction, the less I actually have to touch on anything that might be slightly uncomfortable for myself.
You mean like small talk?
Small talk, yeah. How many times do we talk about the weather? Or
at the beginning of a Zoom call?
Or traffic.
Yeah.
And it's just like, or how badly the weather affects traffic. I mean, again, granted, we're just careening towards the sun, but you know, at the end of the day, there's only so much weather talk we can have. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to maybe actually start to push that into some other things.
Okay.
Avoid politics, though. Don't get into that.
Yeah, politics can be, especially in this day and age,
very painful.
But okay, so feelings we're not expressing to others and ways that we're not engaging with ourselves. That's what's behind fine. I'm fine as a strategy to cope with this discomfort.
It helps us survive, right? So we remember a lot of these things that we kind of talk about as like maladaptive, you know, behaviors or thought processes. They are survival. And that's why I always say, like, they're not bad. Like, anxiety is not bad. It's a warning sign. It's your brain saying, pay attention. Sadness is not bad. Depression is telling you something's off. Right? Something's not working for you. You're not being seen. You're not being heard. You don't feel like you belong.
Right.
Same thing when we start looking at any of those other feelings that we try to push away with, like, I'm fine, and just kind of like gloss over. We're doing that to survive. Right?
Yeah, totally.
But the thing is that we feel stuck when we can't actually express ourselves. Yeah. We start to feel stuck when nobody's really connecting with the feelings that we're experiencing.
We feel unseen.
We do.
So what are some small ways we can engage with our feelings authentically without dumping on the first poor soul who asks us how we're doing on a tough day?
Well, tell me first, what does oversharing look like?
I bump into someone at the grocery store, at the post office, whom I don't know very well, and I haven't seen them for a while. I'm like, oh, how's everything? And I say, well, my dad's in the hospital with not one but two emergency procedures. I don't know when he's going to get out. And I am really not sleeping very well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you know what happens to the other person when we overshare?
Their eyes glaze. I've noticed that.
Yeah. You've noticed that. Yeah, they kind of check out for a bit, right? And I think that's what happens when we overshare and we just kind of dump on people. And this is our fears. We don't want to just overshare. People stop paying attention. It's really hard to engage in a two-way relationship when somebody's oversharing. So it's a valid fear that we don't want to overshare things, right? It's a valid concern of ours that we don't want the other person we're talking to glaze over.
Right.
We want to engage in active listening. So we want to start to avoid that overshare, but we don't want to undershare either. It's this idea that if we just say I'm fine, it pushes everything away. It keeps the wall up. But if we overshare, then the other person's going to be like, I can't wait to get out of this conversation. Right. So we have to find a balance in the middle. Right. And so one of the things we do is we take, as we've suggested before, tiny realistic steps. So maybe some internal check-ins before we say, oh, I'm fine. You know, we might say, if I'm not fine, what one word is closer to what I might be feeling? Like, yeah, I'm a little tired. I'm a little sad. I'm a little overwhelmed. I might be a little lonely, maybe scared. But even those words might feel a little, I don't know. I'm wondering. Like,
lonely might feel too much. I mean, that's very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Hey, I salute you if that's your answer to the question, how are you doing?
Right.
I'm lonely. Because it invites connection.
So before I say I'm fine, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm feeling a little tired right now. That's going to help me start to set a foundation for how I might engage in this conversation moving forward.
And you're acknowledging it to yourself.
I'm acknowledging it to myself.
You're being real with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think one of the things we miss often, Kenyon, is the ability to be real with ourselves first, because everything is so automatic and we're just trying to move through too quickly. How often do you have a conversation with somebody and they're like, okay, what do I need to do? How do I do this? Everybody wants answers and they want the steps. They want 5 steps how to get something done.
Right.
And the first response that we have is often take a moment, set an intention, and then move through your day or that scenario with intention.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's really important.
It is. I love that.
Yeah. Why is setting intention so important?
Setting intention is important because that makes us thoughtful. If I am just reacting to being overwhelmed, there's no intentionality behind it, and I'm going to kind of flounder. If I have an intention, I can pause, I can remember what I want to accomplish, have a goal in mind, and act accordingly.
Exactly. There's an inherent mindfulness to it, right?
There's reflection.
There's reflection. God, that's what a great word. Mindfulness gets overused, I think, and it's such a wonderful word, but I think I like the word reflection.
Reflection is great.
Yeah.
And intentionality, all my clients know, I always return to it. What's the intention here? What's the intention here?
And, intention is exactly that. I think it's when we think about what the word intention means, it's what motivates us. What is our goal? Where do we want to go? And how does that align with our values? How do I want to walk through whatever scenario I'm facing?
Right.
And how do I want to experience this? And how would I like others to experience me in that?
Precisely.
Okay. So the first step is reflect on what you're feeling really before. Just take a moment, reflect, okay, what am I feeling before I answer fine? And the second step is give a fine plus the response. So you might say something. So say I reflect and I say, oh man, I'm a little tired right now, or maybe I'm a little lonely. But if I answer that, it might be a little much. As you said, like if you just drop dude, I'm kind of lonely right now. That might be a little like, do I want to open this door with this person?
Right.
So you can give an alternative that reveals a little more without turning it into like a therapy session in the middle of the street or at a Starbucks, because we've all been there.
Definitely.
So it's hey, I'm mostly okay, but I've been a little exhausted lately, or I'm hanging in there, but life's been a lot lately.
I'm not great, but you know what? I don't want to get into that. There is some good stuff going on.
Oh, I like that. I like the balance it too.
I just did that yesterday. Because I was dealing with a lot of challenges, but at the same time, if I'm being completely honest, there's some really good stuff happening too, and I just kind of like threw that in there.
There's typically always good stuff going on.
I would say every day. It's like we talked about in other sessions. We in other episodes, we don't necessarily have good or bad days. We have good or bad moments in every day. We
have days which have good or bad moments throughout that day, right?
Yeah,
and allow it. I think that's the other thing. Like when we've stepped back, we give ourselves a moment to see that. Hey, right now, you know what? The next 3 hours might absolutely suck, or the last 3 hours sucked, or maybe the last 3 and the next 3 are gonna suck. But you know what? There's some other stuff going on. Still have a roof, or I still have a job, or I still have some people in my life that can hear me, or maybe it's even hard to see some of those things, but typically we can find something to grab onto. So I like that, offering the balance. I'm not great, but I do have some other good things going on right now as well. So when we look at like those small little honest adjustments, it even just balancing it with I'm okay, and it allows us to reduce the pressure of pretending. We don't have to keep up the veil anymore.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's, everyone wants to be authentic, right?
Sure.
And that can be an eye roll. But at the same time, it does feel much better to give an authentic response than to just lie.
That is the core of a lot of existential psychology, right? This idea of if our insides don't match our outsides, we experience mental health issues.
Yeah.
Right. When something on the inside doesn't match the outside, we have anxiety, we have depression, we have, sadness, we have dysphoria, we have all these psychological phenomena, as they say.
We do
really keep it jargony. But
we're anti-jargon.
Yeah, I know.
No, you explained yourself.
So the ultimate goal here is to be authentic, right? As you said, and to be genuine, to have our insides match our outsides. Now, again, with balance and an understanding and boundaries of what the world is accepting of us at that moment and what we can handle also.
Totally. It also, by just being a little authentic even, we give the person we're speaking to a chance to respond authentically.
Absolutely.
To check in with us.
Yeah.
Again, that I talk about it a lot. We talk about it a lot, that like how vulnerability is the bridge to connection. So if we can just be a little vulnerable.
Yeah, we're not turning the dials to 11 here, right?
No. But hey, if we can facilitate connection, if we can cultivate connection in little ways throughout the day, our days are going to be probably a lot better.
Thanks for listening to Right Here, a podcast partnership with WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, streaming online at WPKN.org and via our free listening apps. If today's conversation resonated with you, we encourage you to follow, review, and share Right Here with anyone you think would appreciate it.
We'll be back soon with another conversation designed to bring a little more light to the human condition. I'm Christopher Mooney.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Right Here is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact a local emergency service or your trusted mental health professional.